What's poppin', y'all? It seems that I completely missed the album drop by Cordae because the newest piece of information that we received was when Naomi Osaka, who's been Cordae's long-term girlfriend for at least 3 to 4 years, maybe even going back until 2020, decided to put an announcement on their breakup and say the following. Hi everyone, just wanted to say that Cordae and I are no longer in a relationship. No bad blood at all, he's a great person and an awesome dad. Honestly, really glad our paths crossed because my daughter is my biggest blessing and I was able to grow a lot from our experiences together. Putting out a press release for a breakup, that's something that people were going in on, but I think it's somewhat necessary for her to put out just so people understand that they're not together. Some people may assume. I think there was something going on last year where people thought they broke up and then they got back together. I don't know. I didn't follow that. I just happened to see this. But this triggered me to check out what's been going on with Cordae? So I check out and I found out that he had dropped an album. And this was back in November. And man, November was a hectic. Well, October, November, and December were hectic months for me. Not on a personal level, but on some stuff that I've been working on for the main channel. Let's just say that. I'll give you guys some details, or maybe I'll give you guys access to get some details on some really cool stuff I've been working on. So I completely missed this Cordae release, which I'd been looking forward to for a while. So I decided to do some research. I haven't listened to the full album yet. I'm going to do a completely separate video on my thoughts on Cordae's album. Hold me to that. Hold me accountable to that. That is a must. So I'm going to continue listening to the album today and give it another listen. I'm maybe 4 or 5 tracks in. I'm not going to prematurely give my opinion on it. But the breakup happens, and my personal opinion is I feel like Cordae gave a lot. I think he sacrificed a lot being with this woman. Not that she's a negative in any regard, but for the image of a rapper. And it's not that Cordae necessarily has that image of he needs to be around chicks or needs to have bars about girls in his music. It just feels like he sacrificed the opportunity of either being single and appearing as a single bachelor as a rapper. You don't have to do nothing crazy. Or being in a relationship with a female rapper that they would have helped elevate each other, similar to what Offset and Cardi B did for each other. Now, I will say an example of somebody being negatively impacted is A$AP Rocky, because the perception surrounding A$AP Rocky right now, you talk to any girl and you ask them about A$AP Rocky, they'll tell you, oh, Rihanna's husband or Rihanna's boyfriend. It's not A$AP Rocky. And the first time I heard this, my brain just started scrambling. It's like I kind of started twitching out of rage. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really get angry like that. But in my head, I'm just like, Rihanna's like, do you know that's A$AP Rocky? That guy made the song Palace. He made Live Love A$AP. You guys know I mess with Rocky heavy. Every Rocky project, even Testing. So to see this and to see this become his perception, it's just, And then you got to add to the fact that Rocky usually takes at least 2 to 3 years to drop a new album, which is why he always drops something good. Or part of the reason why he always drops something good. Tyler, the Creator, does the same thing. But in this scenario, that 2 to 3 years has been mired with him just kind of a supportive role for Rihanna, who hasn't dropped music either. Cordae, I feel like it was just a neutral, and I do think there are a lot of things that he could have done and maybe opportunities that he had to kick it with certain rappers or to just be in the mix a little bit that he may have sacrificed in order to appear respectful, because you got to think, she's got a brand for a completely different audience. And Cordae is the type of guy that's going to be cognizant of that and say, man, I can't act out and hurt my woman's brand and have people think of me a certain way. And he did an excellent job of that. But now that they've broken up and they have a daughter together, this is really, really unfortunate situation. That, I wouldn't say that goes in the toilet, but that's a lot of career momentum that he could have had. Now, to talk about the topic of people saying Cordae's album flopped, just numbers-wise, this is what frustrates me about that. Is a lot of people talk about this without context. You guys realize that a lot of the music, or not of the music, I barely talk about this anymore. And I think sales only matter in any degree of conversation if we're talking about, number one, progression or regression of a somewhat smaller artist, or number two, we're talking about artists that are established and have been selling big numbers for 5+ years. Let's say Future, Travis Scott. Well, Travis Scott's damn near 10 years. Ye, Drake, Kendrick, J. Cole, like these guys, it's to estimate, are they still as hot as they are, which they usually are. But if using sales for a new artist is damn near criminal, because the sales will be juiced depending on if you have a smash hit song, your sales are going to look crazy. And then the next album, if you don't have a hit song like you did the first one, your sales are going to drop and people are going to say you fell off. But that's not the case. So it's lacking a lot of context and nuance. And Cordae went on a Twitter, I wouldn't call it rant, but he decided to speak on it, which is something that rappers usually don't do. And he said the following: "Want to say this now, and this is before the album dropped, I don't give one F about a first week sale. It's a very inaccurate way to calculate impact, especially with the current streaming metrics. I seen somebody do 11K first week and then do an arena tour off the same album. Y'all said my last project first week numbers wasn't good, and I ended up doing a sold out headline world tour. In the 2000s, music was consumed by people actually going to the stores and buying albums. When you did 100K first week, that meant 100,000 people went and bought the CD. Now you can have 300,000 people listening to your album on streaming, and the unit sales equivalent is 200. Let's kill this. Rap is dying narrative too. It's racist. I don't know about that. Every genre has its strengths and weaknesses. I don't agree with that take either. As far as music consumption goes, rap streams really well, but a lot of rappers don't do well on tour. This is true. R&B has lower streams comparatively, but they kill stuff on the road. Also, in part because they put on better performances. Most rap performances suck, so nobody wants to see them on tour. Pop streams crazy, but it's the most fickle. I'm guessing he's saying fickle genre. I will say pop streams crazy for the singles, but when you look at the album sales of a Khalid or a Halsey or whatever else, rappers will outsell them. Like Travis Scott, Drake, Camila Cabello, like her album didn't do crazy numbers like that. So singles wise, yeah, pop streams like crazy, but it's also in part driven by how much money they dump into radio play. Country ain't start popping again until they stole trap drums from rap and started doing it. I don't believe that either. Country's always been there. It's just that a lot of country moved to streaming. So what I believe is that this new generation from their parents bought CDs, because if you guys remember, let's just say 6 years ago, country artists doing crazy numbers, selling tour packages and CDs and physicals. But I think the young bucks of that generation started to pick up streaming. So now they're streaming like crazy as well. And I don't think that's the case. Now I know there are some rap influences for certain country artists, but we're not going to demean the genre like that. And this is coming from somebody that does not enjoy the genre whatsoever. I might for fun just do a country listening, just try to like country music, because I don't have the take where it's like, yo, country music just sucks as a personality trait. I want to like it, but I've just never enjoyed it, even from the hits. Moving on. Point is, every genre is beautiful and unique and consumed differently in its own way. Facts. On a case-by-case basis, I love and enjoy them all, and stop making music about numbers and money. It's killing something that's so pure. I think it's mostly been about numbers and money for a very long time. And Cordae did not do an arena tour by himself. He co-headlined with NF. And NF has got the juice. Like, let's say Cordae, he was on an arena tour, world tour with NF. How much tickets do you think Cordae contributed to versus NF? Let's just be completely honest. NF for sure contributed to 90, maybe 95% of the tickets. I think it was a great look and a great opportunity for Cordae. And I see what he's trying to say, but I don't think he can genuinely use that as an add-on, if we're being fair here. Now, when it comes to Cordae's own tour, like I've been to a Cordae show. He sold out the Novo. This was several years ago. So Cordae is capable of doing shows that are above what people would expect from his album sales, which is the point that he's trying to make. He's just trying to inflate it a bit, which is normal. And I expect him to do that. So what happens is and this is in anticipation of Crossroads, so he's kind of prepping it, and this always looks bad to fans that just want to hate because like, oh, we see you scared to flop. And I think it's disappointing because Cordae has been in the studio recording every single day for the past couple of years, putting work into his craft, which is why I really want to sit and take time to listen to this project. So for somebody like that, you got to think they finally put together a project. It's been maybe 2 years since his last one. He hasn't really dropped anything in between other than singles here and there. There's a level of anxiousness that you have of, man, I put this work together. Are people even going to give it a shot? Or are they just going to look at numbers and dismiss the project? Like they're just going to wait for a week until the projections come out or the final sales numbers, and then they're not even going to listen to what I put my heart and soul and money into. And that's a difficult situation to be in. And I think a lot of artists fell into that, and some don't even drop music anymore because of that. And this is why I want to address the sales numbers. So Cordae's project Crossroads ends up selling 10K first week and debuting at number 143. Right? People are saying, man, this is a flop, blah, blah, blah. The one thing that I have to ask people, and I always ask this, which is where the context comes in, is what numbers would you expect from Cordae or insert any other rapper that they called flopping for this to not be considered a flop? And they usually just freeze and have no idea what to say after that because they don't. They just see a number that they deem as low. It's basically based off of vibes. That's it. So if it's based off of vibes, what the hell's going on here? So let's actually assess the numbers. 10K, 143. Number one, did you expect much higher than this? I expected around 10K. I potentially expected less because if we look at Cordae's last album, that did what? 21K? And this is why comparing the artist to himself is so important. Would you say that Cordae is less popular now or less talked about than he was when he first broke out? Yeah, right? Okay. So Bird's Eye View was his second album. That did 21K first week. And that was how many years ago? A couple of years ago, 2022. So let's say, how many years is that? January. So he dropped, it's 3 years, basically 3 years. So do you think in 3 years, the majority of rappers' album sales have tanked? The answer is yes. Damn near all of them have tanked. And we'll just look at a Lil Baby example. Lil Baby is projected to sell, what is it, 125K, 130K. They might jack it up towards the end. But Lil Baby's one of the biggest rappers in the game. Lil Baby's last album, which was in 2022, which was about 2.5 years ago, It's Only Me, the one that people called garbage, that sold 216,000 first week. So his album sales have, and nobody's calling it a flop. Yet Cordae, who sold 21K 3 full years ago, Lil Baby's like 2 years and some change, his sales have, and people are calling that a flop. Make that make sense to me. And then The Lost Boy, when we look at the commercial performance of that sold like 25K first week. And this was his debut. So there was a lot of anticipation. He had 2 songs that weren't necessarily hits, but this is the most hype you're going to get. And man, when this dropped, it was 2019. It was a completely different time in sales. There were different ways to manipulate numbers back then. And there still are ways to manipulate numbers, but it's just not the same. You see numbers have tanked. So judging by his last album sales, Cordae has never been a commercial smash. So he did 20-something K the first album. People were saying the second album was a flop because it did 21K, 23, 24K, which is the same as the first album. So what are people coming at here? From a sales perspective, this did fine. Now, how much it generated and all that, I don't know. That's the business back end label issue. But when it comes to perception, this is objectively not a flop because Cordae hasn't gotten more popular since From a Bird's Eye View. He's pretty much been locked in, dropping singles here and there. He hasn't been out. He hasn't been in the mix at all. And he addresses this take when he went on The Breakfast Club and they grilled him. Charlemagne, who's largely ignorant about a lot of these things, and that's not to disrespect Charlemagne, it's just to give an honest assessment. He asks him about this, and Cordae says the following.
I saw one of those crazy YouTube videos, and it said why Cordae's career hit a crossroad. Album flops horrendously.
Yeah.
Do you feel you just said it, you feel you're at a crossroads, but do you feel like your album flopped?
No, because like, probability of that, it's like some white boy in Indiana. Not that it's a race thing, but it's like the truth of the people that run those. Mm-hmm. And like if you look at channels like that, their whole channel subscribes to a bunch of negativity. That's like what they're about. So you can nitpick every artist in music. You could find something negative and nitpick at where like they lack of, where they lack in some department. You know what I'm saying? But no, because like I had other albums that didn't have like a strong first week. But again, my tour ended up doing super well. And then later on, it grows and becomes like a larger thing. Like, why spend all this time focusing on 1 week? 1 week? We're going to spend all this time focusing on 1 week when there is 52 weeks out of the year? Like, you're going to just give up on an album because like it didn't have a super strong first week? You know what I'm saying? Excuse me, what I'm saying? And I think I get compared to like megastars. Like my first, like if you compare like a Cordae first week sales to like a Kendrick Lamar first week sales, of like, of course there's a discrepancy, but when it comes to like my actual peers that do the type of music that I do, there's like, it's all like a balance. It's there. We're all at doing the same comparative numbers, you know, even though comparison is the thief of joy, but just that's a whole nother perspective. But yeah, no, I have no worry about what some white man says about my career.
So I think Charlemagne's just going off of the title, and this is also the thing with YouTube, is the packaging. People want to see negativity. It's not just YouTube, it's most platforms, but it's the honest truth that this is not a flop. I'd like people to convince me otherwise, commercially speaking, and majority of album sales should not matter anymore. Like, we just need to see a progression. Like, if somebody was streaming well and now their streams are in the gutter and nobody's talking about them and nobody's showing appreciation for their music or project, then they're having a problem and they're flopping. Or if they're a major label artist, in terms of they're a major artist at a major label, because even artists at major labels are selling very, very, very low records. And we have to see the consistency on the chart too. Because if we take a look at Cordae, right? His album Crossroads is not on the top 200 for this week. Top 200, I mean, I would say the lowest part on the 200s is selling 6 to 7K a week. So that's the only metric that I have to look that up. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's streaming poorly, but I just can't get the metric. So if this album is continuously streaming and it's still spreading and it's not the chart, which is people only in the back end could see this, and it's not going down or stagnating, and it's slowly, or stagnating is actually good because it means it's getting a consistent amount of streams. So people are listening to it again and again, and potentially new people are listening to it. That's an amazing situation to be in. With Cordae, I think the best thing for him to do is kind of what he was doing just recently. He just went on a press run for this. He was hanging out with that dude Ben Dadon. He was with his brother. People like Cordae. So I don't know why Cordae isn't seen more. And perhaps he just had his own relationship stuff. He was locked in working on the album. But now the reception for the album seems pretty good. And what else does he have to do now? I think this is an opportunity for him to double down and get people to pay attention to him more. So what Cordae should do now is, I think he needs to drop a mixtape or EP, not now, but let's say in 2 to 3 months. Like by April, Cordae should have another project, and he should just call it a mixtape. So there isn't that expectation, because with each album, Cordae puts a lot of effort into crafting it. So he should just drop a tape. In the meantime, he should be doing these freestyles. I don't see why he's not active more. When people see Cordae in public or interact with other people, they're never like, man, I don't really like that guy. Damn, I don't mess with him. Hey, yo, this is a cool guy. I like him. People want to see him win. They just need to see him. And that's the thing. And I don't know what's the deal with this label Atlantic. It seemed like he carried a lot of the promotion for Crossroads. Keep in mind, I was also barely online at that time, so maybe I didn't see the strong promotion for it. But it seemed like he carried a lot of that himself. And he has a small, tight-knit team. But he can do a lot this year, especially after a breakup. People know that he broke up with his girl, baby mama, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if they were engaged or not. And it's not saying he should bash her, but reflecting on his life is an important aspect of his career and his lyricism and his artistry. And this is a big pivotal moment of his life. So him talking about that and just other things that he's going through right now in a mixtape, I think it would do good, and it would keep him being talked about by everybody, because that's the most important metric right now. And people won't even care about you. Like DDG, right? DDG's popping. DDG's lit. What is DDG selling? Has DDG ever sold over 8K first week? No, but people don't care. I think a lot of these young guys also don't care. Like, for example, Netspend. I don't know what Netspend sold, like maybe 15K. Maybe they juiced his numbers 5K, 6K. Who cares? I don't care what Netspend sold. The guy just got into the game. He's still on the come up. And as long as his shows are performing well, that's the biggest metric too. Because when he talks about 100,000 people, it meant 100,000 people bought your CD. 100,000 people buying your CD is not the same as 100,000 people streaming, because streaming is free. It just takes someone's time. Whereas for a CD, it was like $10, sometimes $15, and you had to actually go to the store, put on your jacket. If it was cold, step out. It was cold in November. Step out, go with intention to buy something. The closest thing to that is ticket sales and a tour, and Cordae is supposed to be going on tour for this. So just seeing more of Cordae's personality, him showing more of his shows, things like that, to let people know, like, hey, I'm really touching people here, and this is more than just sales. Because, man, like I said, the sales conversation outside of certain contexts is really out of here, which is the same thing that I said about Ice Spice. So I'm consistent with this. When people were talking about, man, this Ice Spice album only did this much, and that was with the hit song, I said, what do you expect? You think Ice Spice has a fan base that's anticipating a project? It's your expectation that's the flop, not the numbers. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I don't want to ramble, because I could turn this into another conversation about other artists, Tommy Richmond being one of them. And it would be more so co-signing what happened with him. But the people that came here specifically for Cordae, I don't want to drag them through that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Remind me, if I don't upload a video in 7 days of my thoughts on Cordae's album, I need you guys hitting me in the comments or DMs, mostly in the comments. I read comments more than DMs of like, yo, where's that Cordae? Where's that Cordae? Not review. I don't review stuff, but what are your thoughts on that? So like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Peace.